All right. Hello, everyone. I am Deck, and I'll be your host for the next few runs. I hope you all are doing well. And right now, we're gonna have a Dark Souls 2 All Bosses No DLC run by Stennis. So I hope you guys are ready for that. Stennis, are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, then you can begin.
Yep. So, fortunately, I have a bit of a cold, so my voice is kind of ruined from Friday, but I'll try to talk as much as I can. This is Dark Souls 2 All Bosses No DLC, also daringly called Old Bosses. And without further ado, I think I'll just begin in 3, 2, 1, go. So, for those who haven't seen this this run before, the most immediately apparent thing as we get along is how broken hexes were in the old patch of the game. So once we get about halfway in, we will do a lot of damage. Unfortunately, with the rerouting of the game, we don't have that much levels anymore, so we will have fairly little health and ADP and whatnot, but hopefully that will be alright. Also, the beginning of the run is actually a bit more difficult than it was before, so it's a very marathon ready right now, because we have to do a lot of dupes to get the levels that we want. So pretty shortly I will be picking up a 5k soul that will basically have to use around 15 times to get the levels we want. So that is going to be fun. So I'm just approaching up on my jeweler here. We'll pick up a very important item for the rest of the run, which is the binoculars. The binoculars on old patch are used for a glitch called bino boosting, which will make me run probably like 3-4 times as fast, if not more. Although it only lasts for about 3 seconds at a time. So you see here, every time I look through the binos, roll and punch, I will be getting a speed boost for about 3 seconds. So as I said, the first thing we'll do is pick up a 5000 soul. There's no souls that big in the beginning areas of the game, so we will be skipping slightly ahead towards the shaded woods, where there are 2 such souls, and I'll pick up both now just for safety, if I'll remember to do that, because otherwise if I fail one dupe we're in a really bad shape. So I have to do the first parry here with the mace, because the cleric doesn't actually start with any shield or anything like that. And this is a glitch called parry walking, which fixes my height, making me able to run on the air and escape the levels from like small gaps in the walls and whatnot. And I'm squashing myself underneath the staircase, because that will push me down towards the ground. And while I'm in this squashed state, I can do jumps that increase my height with each jump, because I never go into a falling animation. And doing that, I can gain some extra height from where I started, which is just enough to run through here and skip the entire section with the branch of yore and all that. And here comes the first kind of scary part, because we'll be going into the shaded woods here, where there's a lot of those ghost bandit dudes who don't like me very much, and we'll basically just be YOLOing straight for a chest here, trying not to pay attention to them, and I'm already almost dead. So see if I can YOLO this. Should have iframes, I did not. So yeah, this is something that happens every once in a while. Of course, it's a marathon, so... But I'll try again, because I have nothing to fight them with. And luckily I did not get backstabbed, at least, because a backstab will one-shot me. So now we got the clear bluestone ring +1. It actually does increases my cast speed quite a lot, so it's very useful for this run. So I'll just be putting it on immediately. And I'll be talking to Gandalf while I'm here, chilling in his wheelchair, because I'll need to talk to all three before I can go get a ring. That will boost my damage by 20%, and also to kill Dark Lurker later on in the run. And if there's any donations now, would be a good time.
I don't think we have any donations right now, but I can give a quick shout out to one of our partners.
Yes, please.
I want to say huge thanks to ShadowTech, who have allowed us to use their powerful PCs as a remote service for streaming for absolutely free. ShadowTech is a fantastic solution for anyone who wishes to play the latest games without the need to pay for a powerful PC on their own. So visit shadow.tech today to find your perfect plan.
Yeah, so I just realized that was why I was turning around there. I actually forgot to pick up the safety soul I was thinking about earlier, so we'll just have to not fuck up the dupes. That's fine. Just put extra tension on the run. So that's the first dupe I do. It's pretty easy to do. Basically all you're doing is you switch left and right in the menus and then drop the soul before you pop it. But you still get the salt from using it, so it both ends up on the ground and it gets consumed at the same time. And I'll have to do that a lot of times in the first half of the run. So coming up here is the first boss we'll be doing. It's a pretty trivial boss. We basically just do because we need items after him, because he gives us some souls. And here we have like just enough time to do a dupe and then jump this little gap to make him fall off. And I immediately ruined the dupe, so that's what I said could happen. So we'll have to go back and pick up another one. Will lose us some time. So sometimes if it misses an input, which it did on my L1 there, then the menus get messed up and we lose dupe. But it will be probably around 40 seconds time loss, but we can recover from that. Also, I'm not killing her, just giving her a bath. Everything is fine. We're doing that because we need her items. Specifically the Idol's Chime to do damage later. So I'm just gonna head back to the Shaded Woods right now. To pick up the other soul, because I do need it.
Alright, will that be a good time to read it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so we got a $10 donation from Tracy Caldwell saying, swiggity swoopy pee poo poo. Thank you, Tracy.
Let's just warp out here because I don't want to get cursed. So luckily I have a few I can buy a few extra bones, so it's not a huge issue having to go back here, but it does lose me some time. So now I'll be heading back to Majula to do the first level up. I'll be putting most of my levels into Fate immediately because we'll be using the Lightning Spear for the first boss here. So let's just do that. So I'll be putting 24 into Fate and then 8 into Intelligence. 8 is just the minimum requirement. I need to talk to a merchant coming up shortly. Otherwise, he just doesn't want to talk to you, so... Oh, I really want to discard that item, otherwise it's going to mess up the dupes again. I'm pretty sure I just discarded that. But stuff happens. So I'll be using the soul 2 more times here to get enough to buy a bunch of items from Valencia that we'll need. 5k is not more than the Dragonite Soul. No, the Dragonite Soul is 6,000, but you can't dupe boss souls for some reason. You cannot drop them after you started using them. So we'll have to use regular souls, and then 5k is the largest one we can get now until we get to Dragonite Castle. So decent RNG here, so I can just run straight for the fog gate without having to worry about them. And we'll be picking up our shield of choice for the entire run right here. That is the buckler. Very nice shield for parrying, and it's actually very nice to use when you don't have the stats for it, because that gives you a very... it's a longer wind-up time, but it's very nicely timed for a lot of enemy attacks. So we won't get the stats to use it properly at all during this run. So hopefully I won't have a holo following me, but usually I do. So we'll just buy that hood, gives us 1 extra faith, which is quite useful. Here's the holo. And I'm also buying a lot of items from her, just so that I can talk to her afterwards and get the silver serpent ring, which will give us more souls. Turns out just that it's faster for us to just buy extra items and get it than killing her like we used to do before. So that's why we do that. Whoa. Got a double roll there. Oh, my menu wouldn't close there, which almost killed me, but we're fine. So here, if I'm unlucky, I won't be able to pick the soul back up. Luckily we did. This elevator can be kind of annoying for dupes, because when you drop a item on an elevator, it actually stops falling once it hits the ground the first time. So as soon as it hits the elevator floor, it will stand at that spot in the elevator for the rest of the eternity. So if I wasn't able to pick that back up, I would have to take the elevator back up and then back down again, which is very unfortunate. So that's the last giant for you. He's a bit of a pushover in this route, because even if he jumps back, since we're using ranged attacks, we just shoot him wherever he jumps, so very easy to do. Here we'll be doing a pursuer quick kill, which hopefully I'll get, otherwise I'll have to use a safe fall actually. This should be fine. I messed up the first parry bind boost, but yeah, there we got it. So what happens there is the bird carrying pursuer actually deloads and drops pursuer to its death. So we just get his items, but to get the 17,000 souls you also normally get, you have to be frame perfect on that bonfire. It doesn't really matter for this route, so we don't time it in that way, because if you try to do that, then you're pretty likely to be too early and not get anything at all, which is unfortunate. Okay, a bit slow here, but that's one of the few last dupes I really need for the 5k souls. I'll have about 2 more after that. If I lose souls after that point, then it's basically just less levels into vigor, which is pretty annoying, but not something that I need to reset over, luckily. So we should be fine. Whoa. So here I'm buying the Great Resonance Soul. That's basically our cast of choice for the entire run, and it does a lot of damage. I think at the weakest bosses we will end up doing more than 1,000 damage per hit. So it's a very good spell. I get a bit stuck here. That should be fine.
We got another donation.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a $10 donation by Yanri Shadow saying, "Greetings, not hairy enough people. I ought to make Deck uncomfortable by presenting a dilemma. I'll donate extra $10 if you'll read this message entirely, including the word you promised not to read out. And here it goes. Sub to Deck. I'm not sorry." Well, thank you, Yanri. I did it for the kids. Give us more money, thank you.
Alright, so right now we are running towards the Skeleton Lords. It is a lot faster for us just to do this parry walked and just run in between everything, not having to deal with the bridge. So yeah, just go straight towards the boss. This boss can be pretty annoying, and I need the Dark Pine Resin to be able to one-shot the Skellies at all. Luckily I got the headshot on that skeleton, otherwise it would be... Okay. he would have been 3 hits rather than 2. It's too early. So yeah, there's a lot of skeletons in that fight. We spawn 8 of them immediately. And then we'll do... oh, let me just heal here, because this is getting scary. And that's one of the reasons why this kind of fight can be really annoying. Because the skeletons really like to block, and if they block, naturally I won't one-shot them. And I don't know why I didn't die. Never seen that before. And yeah, pretty bad fight, but should be fine now as the bone wheels spawn. Don't like being this close to the pillar, because that often means that we get bone wheels spawning on the other side, which we did. Just gonna let that one attack because he was in a bad position. But yeah, that is Skeleton Lords for you. So I had to heal there once, which is unfortunate, but I'd rather do that than end up with a ton of skeletons just running around, stabbing you left and right. Because after all, it's faster than dying. So that is the last dupe with this soul that I really needed to get, so we should be good now. I'll be equipping the boss souls usually throughout the first part here, so I can use them on vendors. I will use it at Kluan here while I'm buying the soul piece spell from her, which is useful. Because we don't want to listen to her talk, I'm just gonna walk away a little bit and skip right to her next dialogue. And now we'll be for the first time also doing a glitch that we'll use a few more times during the run. This is a glitch called attunement glitch, which using the mouse and keyboard actually allows us to go into the attunement menu while warping. And then if you switch out the spell that we had for another, just as it goes into the loading screen, we actually get the amount of casts from what we switched to, but we still keep the old spell. So right now I have Solar Piece, but instead of having 3 casts, I now have 11, because the Lightning Spear has 11 casts. Which is very useful, especially for the GRS, because GRS normally has only 9 casts, but using the Soul Arrow that we bought earlier, we can get it up to 32, which is a fair improvement. So, just buying a few items I need for the rest of the run there. And especially the cat ring I need to get down here. So we'll be heading straight up for the I guess it's the Vanguard they're called, which is a boss fight that can get pretty memey, even though this spell really destroys them. Part of the reason for that is that occasionally, but pretty rarely, the rats sometimes just randomly survive the spell, even though they're right next to it. Hopefully we'll be alright here. So you see that rat just in front of me survived, even though he was well within the range. That one as well. We should hopefully be okay here though. Luckily they weren't right next to me, so otherwise they could have started biting me, which would be pretty disruptive. And right now there's just a bit of a running segment towards the gulch, so if there's any more donations, feel free.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We actually have 2 donations, which I can read in a moment. So we have a $5 donation from Long Arms and Speedruns, saying, last one before I pass out from a Souls coma. Huge thank you to everyone who helped run this event. Thank you for donating. And we have another donation from Yanri Shadow for $15. A promise is a promise. You did it for the kids. Thank you, Yanri, for upholding your promise.
Yeah, so I grabbed a bonfire there that I normally don't get, but just because in old patch we actually cannot use the baby jump mod that current patch runners has access to, because it's simply, I believe it just crashes the game. So having a baby jump here would be really bad. So we're just gonna be extra safe here. to avoid unnecessary huge time losses. So we don't actually need the branch there, that's why I skipped it. But we're gonna pick up the other spell we really want here. Also, I'm first gonna attune the GRS because we're gonna use it immediately on the giants. But also in this area is the Scraps of Life, which is a fairly inconsistent spell. It doesn't always hit properly, but because it does so many hits and a lot of damage, it can be really useful on some of the larger bosses. So we have to kill the giants here because well, two reasons really. First of all, we want the key so we can talk to the next Gandalf sitting here. And I think I actually had to dodge that attack, even though it really didn't look like it, because that hitbox is really bad. But yeah, we need to talk to him in all three places to increase our damage by quite a lot. So we go through all three of them as soon as we can, basically. So, and now that we have the key, we can just go the same path here and drop straight down. And I used the Binus there because when you use the Binus while falling, it actually slows down your forward momentum quite a bit. And that is useful in some cases because it doesn't give us a roll when we're landing. Which is pretty nice when you want to use a Binus boost right after. So here we're going to use the attune glitch again to, as I said, get 32 casts of the GRS. Which is really useful because we can skip a lot of skip resting on a lot of bonfires we otherwise would have to in this route. So I really want to get this parry walk first try. I can still recover it, there we go. Those two enemies follow up right after, so if you fail that parry walk, you usually lose around 20 seconds. Which is unfortunate. Luckily we got it on the recovery. Basically what happened there was that I failed the parry walk in such a way that no animation happened to the enemy. When that happens, you actually get another shot if you do it fast enough. So I managed to get it before he stood up again.
Okay, we have another donation.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, perfect. We have a $20 donation from Ardom saying, "Much love to this community, glad to be a part of it." Thank you, Ardom.
So I just killed that lizard to, even though we don't really need the items that badly, it does allow us to get quite a few more levels later because those items are really expensive. This is kind of Monka S because normally he doesn't hit me at the start, and he was really fast to follow me, but that's fine. So while we're waiting for the gate to open here, I'll just pop this fall a few times just to get a bit more levels later. But again, this is not as crucial as it was before. And you can even dupe the soul while moving, which is kinda quirky on the controller, but it works. So even though I'll be using the GRS almost exclusively for the next part here, there are some cases where using the scraps is faster. So I'll just be resting at this bonfire to attune the scraps, which is also nice now that I took some damage, so that I heal up from it as well. Also avoids me having to kill that guy, which usually blocks the way, so it's not as much of a time loss as it normally is doing an extra rest. So I'm killing the stone soldiers here on either side. I'll be heading first towards Gandalf because I really want the ring really early. Now that me and Gandalf are best buddies, he'll ask me to join his Lord of the Rings fan club, and I'll get the exclusive membership ring, which is very nice to have. So that ring actually becomes immediately very useful because the first boss we're using at, which is the Twin Dragon Riders, actually takes one less hits for both enemies, which is very nice. Makes the fight a whole lot easier. And faster. Which is the most important thing after all. So these guys can be kind of annoying, at least when you bite abuse the whole way. Luckily, if you sort of stop there and just sprint towards them, you usually get a bit better RNG on the dude in the doorway. Otherwise, he might just end up blocking you for quite a while. Alright, so first boss now with sort of decent damage. We still have a +0 chime. At least now we have a fair bit of levels into intelligence and faith. So we kind of destroy these bosses. The first difficult fight will be Mirror Knight coming up shortly. But there's nothing really you can do about that. It's all going to be difficult. That was awkward. Usually I have time for 2 hits there, but for some reason I didn't. But that's fine. Just a few seconds. And to be safe here, I'll just grab this bonfire because the skip we do to get to Mirror Knight is also kind of sketchy. So I really don't want to go all the way back if that happens. So what we used to do was that we picked up the Cadis chime here, and then we went back down and ran out to power up one of the royal soldiers. But I discovered that using another glitch we found more recently called ladder warping, we can actually get from the top here straight into the fight. So what I'll do instead is I'll kill 2 of these enemies, and I'll parry the 3rd one as soon as he gives me an attack I can parry. There we go. And parrywook him. Then we'll just pick up the Cadis chime while we're in a parrywook state here and head back out. And I'll need to do a couple jumps here to get back up to the ground level of this room. But doing that, I can just run straight into this wall, turn around and use the ladder. And now the game reads me as being on the ladder, but my character position is actually somewhere else. And I can just climb straight to the floor. And this is kind of a weird skip because I have to look behind me to line it up. And as soon as that statue disappears, basically, I'll be within the Mirror Knight arena. And luckily the arena is made in such a way that when you're a certain height above the ground, you just load in. And by the way, this boss is really loud, so if you're wearing headphones, I recommend turning it down as soon as he's gonna do a lightning attack. I messed up. I'm dead. Yeah. So I was a bit too YOLO there. It's unfortunate. I'm gonna have to run back to the boss fight. I was just within range from his first attack, so that barely snagged me. Now I can show you the old glitch actually, or old skip. But yeah, I tried. I thought I had enough time to do an attack after after the healing there, but unfortunately he did the stab attack that chases you down whenever you heal, which I should have anticipated. But yeah. Yeah, that's also something that sometimes happens. When your timing is pretty close to getting a parrywalk, the enemy goes into the animation of the riposte, but you don't actually get into it yourself, so you have to get the enemy to stand back up to try again. And I just can't get it now, apparently. So yeah, parrywalking is pretty precise. I had done it fairly well up until this moment, but yeah, this happens every now and then. Finally got it. And one more thing I have to be careful here is if the crossbow guy hits me after I started powerwalking, it actually stops me from being able to bind a boost, which is pretty slow. I can still do the skip luckily because it doesn't require any jumps, because it stops you from jumping as well. But yeah, so this is the old version of the skip where you go into the King's Passage and just go in through the fog gate. So I actually need my souls to do damage because the GRS uses 500 souls on each cast. So I'll just have to pick that up. Very rare for him to do 2 jumping attacks in the opening, but... Ah, okay, I'm playing really badly, unfortunately. Will not attack after the heal this time. That is really awkward. Sometimes you get stuck on this blade. Okay, so this is gonna be the first loud one. And I'm playing this fight very safely right now. Just don't want to die again because it's a really long run back. Orgasm. And yeah, a bit nicer fight there. Still pretty slow, but I'll take it. Actually, did not want to equip that soul, I just realized. Actually want to discard it. So yeah, we'll be using this soul a few more times. I'll just lose some time on the elevator. It's fine. But yeah, we do want to get a few levels into Vigor later because as you saw there, we do take quite a bit of damage from almost anything.
Alright, do we have a little bit of time?
Yep.
Okay, so I just wanted to remind you guys that this year at our charity marathon, you have the chance of winning some awesome prizes when donating, such as the Dark Souls Trilogy Companion, original soundtrack of the trilogy, as well as the art of the trilogy. You can also win a collector's edition Red Knight statue by joining the Gleam giveaway for free. Just type !Gleam in the chat to join. Thank you.
Yeah, so old patch of mana is actually pretty well known for being even worse than it is in current patch, but luckily we having access to nice glitches can make it a bit more easy to deal with. So instead of going through the dreaded Fogate, we can do a paralog here and just run straight through all the water here. And shit, that's unfortunate. That very rarely happens, so I guess we'll use the Fogate after all. And I might die here, but so I loaded in there, not sure why that happened. Yep, we're still good, it's fine. Only thing now is I have to shoot this guy twice, I believe. Yes. Go away, mushroom. No one likes you. And yeah, so rather than having the comfy way of just running straight through to do that, I actually hadn't done the Fogate in probably well over a year, so luckily I got it. But yeah, this is Demon of Song. Hopefully I won't get too close here, because if I get too close, she'll close right after the first 3 hits. I don't have time for a 5 there. Sometimes you have time for 5, which is almost necessary for a 1 cycle here. I might still get it if I was fast enough. We'll see. Okay, we still got it, which is nice. And we'll go straight to Velstad without resting, so I'm using 1 spell restore here to get it back up to enough costs to do the actual fight. And if there's more donations, now would be a good time, since I'm just taking a rather long elevator here.
I don't think we have any donations right now, but I would like to give a shout out to one of our sponsors, one of our partners. Bandai Namco Entertainment has been a supporter of Speed Souls Charity Marathon since our very first event, providing prizes and social media support that are once again helping us make Speed Souls Charity Marathon even more enjoyable for viewers. This time you have the chance of winning some awesome prizes when donating. I've already listed them, but in case you missed, you can win the Dark Souls Trilogy Compendium, original soundtrack of the trilogy, and the art of the trilogy.
Alright, so coming up here shortly is Velstad. He is also one of the scarier boss fights in this route, mainly because we now do way less damage than we used to do in this route. Usually, before we would actually war back as soon as we got to a mana, and level up our chime to +8. But right now our chime is still at +0, so the fight will be a bit longer. And Velstad has a bunch of attacks that can one-shot us, so have to be a little bit careful. And if I do this correctly, also we don't have to mess with this fog gate. That should be fine. Instead, we are like just low enough now that we don't load into the area, but we can still use the fog gate. So even if they hit us, we'll actually not be poised out of using the fog gate, which is nice. And we'll be parrying Velstad for this fight because it makes it a whole lot better when you're using spells. Otherwise it gets kind of monk-ass because you're stuck in the animation for quite a while. Luckily Velstad is not that difficult to parry, and the only attacks that you can't parry are very easy to strafe. So I'll just walk a bit away from him here so I have some distance. And now he's buffed, which gives him a lot of dark resistance. I believe it's a lot of the resistance overall, but we did not get a super early buff, so we should be fine. I'll be safe here and just do one attack because of the attack he just did there, which is a back jump with a swipe, which is the fastest attack he can basically do after finishing another one, which could have killed me if I had been too YOLO there. So we're picking up the king string while we're here. It just makes it a bit faster to go to other areas. I don't believe there's a single king string gate that we actually cannot skip, but it's just faster to do them normally. And now we're heading back to Majula to actually do our final level up for the run. Even though it's only like the 3rd level up, something like that. And I'll just get her to stand up while we're here. Unfortunately, she did not talk to me there. It's fine. So we'll be buying the resources we need here to get our chime up to +10 now that we killed Velstad. And then I'll just go straight over to the blacksmith, and I'll also buy a few arrows from him. Can buy a few more than that, which will make Warf a bit faster. Can never do that cleanly. So now our chime is +10, which will give us a lot more damage. I'll also do the final level up here of getting basically the soft cap for hexes is 30-30, but since we're wearing the saint suit, we only need to go up to 29 because it adds 1 extra fate. We'll also get a whopping 2 extra ADP because that gives us about 10% better rolls, which is quite nice to have. And now we'll be heading towards Guardian Dragon and Ancient Dragon. The reason for that is that I want to get Vendrick basically out of the way as quick as possible, being one of the worst, one of the more annoying bosses. So we'll just do all the requirements we need to take him down full force. Which means we need to get the memory to fight Giant Lord to get his soul. And while I'm here, I'll also use an effigy just to get back to full health. Now there's a bit of running towards the boss, so if there's anything more, then feel free to read the donations. I'm guessing there is none. Oh, they just
yes, I don't think there are any donations right now currently, so you're free to go.
Awful quiet on the donations, guys. Awful quiet. I can't speak. Feels cold, man. So yeah, we're just heading up for a Guardian Dragon here. We do have less cast speed than we used to have in this route, so it's not always guaranteed to be a clean kill, but let's hope we get lucky here. Thanks to Tormir. There are kids out there who are much more sick than I am right now, so I cannot complain. So yeah, hopefully we will get a headshot on him on the third hit. Usually that results in a kill, and we're good. So that is the clean fight. Basically we kill him before he does anything. Sometimes he gets up slightly faster, which I tell by getting a headshot on the second hit instead. Then it's not always guaranteed that you will get the kill before he flies. And I forgot to mention that the Abyss Seal actually does 30 damage on us for every time I do a cast. So you see I've lost a little bit of health there, even though nothing hit me, so I'm just gonna fill that up. And that is one of the reasons why we won't, for example, use the Abyss Seal in combination with RTSR, because then we will just die in, even if we don't get hit, we die in like 6-7 casts or something, which is not great. Because some bosses at least require more than that. So I'll just get the Edged Feather here. Even though we won't do any more level ups, we actually kind of need to have our souls, or at least some souls, later, in between each boss, because the souls are needed for us to do full damage with the GRS. If we don't have enough souls to do a cast, which is 500 souls per cast, the GRS will only do like, I don't know, like 20 damage or something. It will be pretty useless. So yeah, I'll do a bit of a peachy version of this jump here, because the fast version can be really annoying. It's not hard to do, but sometimes you just fail it 10 times in a row for no reason. And basically this part all the way up to Ancient Dragon is exactly the same as it is in 90%. We will do the same baiting of the enemies and just binary boost past everything as best we can. See if the guy does not aggro. That should be fine. And yeah, Ancient Dragon is one of the bosses that can be also pretty annoying, because he, if he flies, that does lose us quite a bit of time, and there's not really anything we can do about it. So hopefully he won't fly. It's quite infrequent that he does fly at all, but in my practice run earlier today he did fly twice, so it does happen. So let's see what he does here. Luckily no flight yet, that's what we want him to do. He'll do a fire breath in between his legs, which lets us get a lot of free hits, because on his foot here we're completely safe from any damage. If we get another fire breath, this will be a clean kill. Yep, we're good. So now I can just finish him off. Decent fight. And having gotten the Ashen Mist Heart, we'll head straight for Giant Lord. Now Giant Lord has very low dark resistance, and it makes for a very quick fight, especially if I get the extra damage in the opening. Also, what I did there is a nice little trick that is kind of scary to do sometimes, which is I bind a straight onto the ledge and stopped just perfectly in time to not fall over. Skips having to do like a back step onto the ledge before doing the jump. It's quite convenient, but it is pretty easy to just run straight over and fall down and die. So we'll see if Giant Lord does an attack right here, attacking forwards, very nice. Then he'll take about 1700 damage from that roll. Fortunately, I didn't attack there before I could. That was bad of me. Usually, what happens there, but I was slower since I didn't hit the first one, is that attack actually misses you when you kill him. So I shouldn't have gone for it. I thought I still had time, but we can do the fight over. It's not that long. What I will do though is use a soul here, because it's kind of annoying to have to pick up your souls again.
Alright, and while you're running back, I wanted to remind our viewers that all of your donations go towards Save the Children and their mission, giving children a healthy start in life, the opportunity to learn, and protection from harm. Thank you.
Yeah, so I'll be a bit more careful here this time. Most of that was just because I don't know how it behaves when I miss the first attack. So I'll just dodge the hit here and hit him twice, and then he's dead. Easy clap. And yes, I did remember to equip the Ice Feather, so now we'll go back and instead of killing the giants, which is what we normally would do, kill them twice over before going to Wendrick, we'll just run through the giant memories, because we haven't been to Bastille yet. And we can then take the opportunity here to just quickly run through both of the memories and pick up the extra giant souls, which is not that much faster than killing the giants, but it's very free to do. One thing I have to keep in mind here though is that I'm gotta make sure I don't actually warp out of these, because that would be way slower naturally. And I'll just use another effigy here while I wait for the giant. Actually, the giant was really fast here, so that actually loses me some time. This giant breaking the wall can sometimes be very slow. And then you just stand there waiting for him to do anything. So the memory, this is the longest memory actually, but it's not that long when you're bind and boosting. So we'll just pick up the soul here and get out. And once I pick up the next one, we will have 5 giant souls, which will give us the most damage on Wendrick. We do, however, do the Bastille bosses first, because we're already in the area. But right after that, I'll head towards Wendrick. Yeah, so we don't actually need to use any of the boss souls that we get now throughout the run. So we'll just have a lot of them at the end. They're nice to have in the inventory though, because as you saw for Giant Lord there, in cases where I do die, I don't really have to go back and pick up my souls, because I will only use the souls to do damage. Which basically no bosses need more than like 15,000 souls on you at a time. So we're in the Bastille now. It doesn't really matter a huge lot which order you do the bosses in here, because we'll be going back to the same bonfire in between each of them because of skips. But I am gonna start off with the Sentinels, just because I do like to heal fully before gargoyles, and in case I take damage at gargoyles, I would like to be Sinner to be the next one, because then I can heal at the elevator. That's my reasoning for the order I do them in, basically. And if I'm a bit lucky here, I want the first Sentinel to turn in a specific way, because that will allow me to do the 3 hits right off the bat, which is all I need to kill each of these. This should be fine, I think. I want him to turn that way out. So there he's dead, not having to dodge anything from him. Unfortunately, they are too far away for me to lock on at the start, so I'll have to snipe them with my Binus, which don't have a crosshair, but I do have a fairly good feel for where the center of the screen is, so we just kill all of them before they get to do anything. And now we'll head over to Gargoyles, which normally you have to wait for all the Gargoyles to spawn, which takes quite a while fighting them normally. We're gonna use Scraps of Life, which is really useful for this, just to spawn all of the Gargoyles at once, basically, and also do quite a bit of damage to them. right off the bat. If we're really lucky, a lot of them might just die before we switch over to GRS. But we'll see how this goes. Oh no, my secrets has been revealed, Sir Tommy. Actually don't, but it's pretty easy to aim on them because it doesn't matter where you hit them. So we'll use a scrap on the first one there. I actually used a bit more stamina here, so this might be kinda annoying. Okay. So basically all the gargoyles are out here. Some of them will die to the scraps, some of them not. Actually, a lot of them survived. This is really bad. But we do a lot of damage with the GRS, so we're fine. That would have hit me if I hadn't dodged, even though he's already dead. Something you have to watch out for with some attacks. So yeah, not a great fight, but not terrible either. And I'll just kill this guy now, because we'll be parry walking Lugatil. And that dude can't actually fit through the door here, so he's pretty annoying. One thing I'm doing here is that I'm cancelling the end of each of my punches with the Binus, which allows me to aggro the NPCs in less hits. Normally you would need like 5 punches to aggro them, but if you have a sort of certain time in between each one, you can aggro them with as little as 3. Then I'll get the power walk here first try. Still didn't get the power walk. Now she's kind of being annoying. She's not attacking. Yeah, power walking is hard, unfortunately. Ah, that attack is really bad. And I still can't get it. Hopefully get it eventually. The thing is, I'm probably not more than like about a frame off. But it's really hard to adjust when you don't really know how you're off all the time. But there we finally got it. Probably don't say much time compared to just running there normally at this point, but now we can just run straight for the Sinner's Rise and towards the elevator to get down. First try, every try. And one thing here, you see the item here, that's the effigy hanging over the ledge. I'll not be binary boosting onto it, because that is really scary, just launches off the side. That is why I healed a little bit before I got here. Guess they do a lot of damage. I'm kind of eating through my life gems here, so I think I'll risk it. Just not be fully YOLO on... Actually, I'll send the elevator back up. Often enough, the fastest fight to get against Sinner is just tanking 1 or 2 hits, but she does do quite a bit of damage. So we'll just skip that. So we can't lock onto Sinner immediately. Oh wow. That is the worst opening. So she dodged my first attack there, which is really annoying. And also when she jumps away, the lock-on actually might break, which it did there. Luckily I was pointing in the right direction, so we still got her. But yeah, she dies really fast, but she can kill you in less hits than you kill her in, so... And now we head over to Vendrick. And Vendrick is one of the longer fights and also one of the more scary fights, because we'll die from anything he does. But there are some really cool combos you can do if he does give me the right attacks. So hopefully I'll be able to show them off. He's also one of the bosses that scraps can be the most useful for, unless he starts jumping back all the time, because he's a rather large boss and does take a lot of hits inside the circle of the scraps of life. So, since we do a lot of damage here, we only need 1 hit to aggro him. Kind of an annoying opener since I have to dodge that, but let's see. So basically my strategy for this boss is usually I always do scraps of life for his overheads. And do 2 GRS for every other attack. Oh no, this is really bad. So, if he follows this up, yep. So the third hits here luckily goes straight over our head while we're casting scraps, which is really nice. Exploit that quite a lot. Did not have stamina to sprint on that, so it was kind of scary. I'll let him do 2 hits there because his kind of movement is kind of weird on that attack. So you can miss the first GRS if you hit him immediately. So that was Vendrick. Pretty decent fight actually. And now we'll head over to Chariot. So from here on out, it's basically pretty much just a boss rush. Some running parts in between. The only scary bosses we have left are basically, in my opinion, kind of Chariot, Missa, and Dark Lurker. Though I'm probably gonna die to something else, having said that. But so I'll usually get the hardest ones out of the way as soon as I can. So that's why I'll be doing Chariot first now, and I'll be going towards Mytha shortly after. Dark Lurker we'll do right near the end, because unfortunately here we use the same bonfire for Dark Lurker, Thornduo, and the Chandra, so it's a very obvious choice for an endgame boss. So if I do my pathing correctly here and don't mess up any binding boosts, we can actually knock down Chariot before the next time he runs around. And we should be good here. So you see here that the gate will come down just before he goes through it. I'll cast 2 scraps here. He should be inside it. Just because that also takes care of the skeletons. Unfortunately, almost none of the scraps actually hit. So this fight is now like twice as scary as it should have been. But we made it out okay. And I will head towards Jabba and Mytha and do that entire segment. Luckily we don't have to do Mytha skip in this, which is about 150 jumps to skip the entire tower. That is actually a lot slower than just killing the bosses, but for RBO, where we naturally have to do the bosses in the opposite order, we cannot do that. So here I'll just be running through the area, basically as you do in current patch, just with binding boosts. Yeah. So Jabba is a really easy boss. There's basically nothing to say. I'll just be standing there shooting. So if there's any more donations, feel free.
We currently do not have any donations. However, I would like to remind you that we, this marathon, support Save the Children, and Save the Children was founded in 1919. For a century now, they have been a global force in the protection of children's rights worldwide. They have programs in over 120 countries and have helped reach and impact over 1 billion children's lives. So, thank you for supporting us.
Okay, thank you. So I just killed the first first mannequin there. Because that allows me to get on the ladder if I do it fast enough and pushes the other guy to the side. If the other guy drops down before I use the ladder, he unfortunately still blocks it. So luckily I got that. Now Mytha can be kind of a scary fight, and I have a bit of a YOLO strat on this fight, to be honest, but if I get a good fight, it's so fast, so I'm still gonna go for it. So basically the YOLO part here is I just run straight up to her and cast scraps, which if she walks into it afterwards means I can just absolutely destroy her. And in the best case scenario, it will actually cut off her tail and stun her. But yeah, since I don't do any heal when I'm entering the fight, if it goes wrong, the poison just destroys my health. So yeah, we're now taking the elevator up to Old Iron Keep, which is a bunch of lava up in the sky, even though you cannot see it, because lore. And there's only 2 bosses here, and using skips we can go through them a bit faster than you normally do. We used to actually do Old Iron King first, and then do Smelter after, since we can, but with a new skip, it's actually a bit faster to do the other way around again. So I'm just killing these guys because they are pretty annoying to deal with on this door. Before you would just parry walk one of them and open the door while parry walked, and a lot of enemies get really confused when you're parry walking and don't attack you, so that's something you can exploit in those situations, but it would be slower here to parry walk than just killing them. So Smelter can also be kind of an annoying fight, sometimes depending on what he does. I'm gonna try a strat I haven't tested that much, so let's see how it goes. Basically, I'm just getting him to walk into the scraps to have a bit more damage than a regular GRS. I should be able to kill him with 2 now. Oh, kill him with 1. So he actually has a lot of damage resistance while he's buffing. So that's why I was thinking I needed 2 there. Managed to hit him just in time for as the damage buff went over, so this GRS does a lot more damage. Now we're actually going to parry with this guy to get over to Old Iron King, which we can do by going through just beneath here, because this wall is not solid. So by running through, we can head straight for the Old Iron King fog gate, and once we're past the wall here, just jump down. And I'm probably just gonna tank a hit here if I have to, because the fastest fight we can get basically kills him just as he does his first attack. Move slightly to the side here. And I had slightly too little stamina for one of the hits, but I'll just tank it. He had 2 health left there, but that's how it is. So actually, like, the spells in this game are also affected by how much stamina you have. So if you have too little stamina compared to what you usually consume while doing a cast, then the damage for the cast will be reduced. Yeah, and for those who might have entered here later, what I did there I can explain again. For running on air, it's a glitch called parry walking. What happens is you basically roll cancel the riposte animation, which fixes both the enemy to be pinned to the ground and you to get a fixed height. So you can just run around in the air and do a bunch of skips using that. So I'll try to use a pretty cool strat here for Nashka. Basically, each of her tails, they fall off from 1 hit, so we can stun her for the first 2 hits of the fight. Unfortunately, one of the hits missed there as she turned around, and I'm gonna have to dodge the souls. Or not, because she walks up to me and... What are you doing? Making Monka fight Monka-ass fights that shouldn't be Monka-ass, but there we are.
Alright, we actually have another donation.
Go ahead.
Okay, so we have a $10 donation by Mestio saying, "You know what to do." Thank you, Mestio. Much appreciated.
So this is an area that is kind of annoying in current patch. A lot of people, I think, now kills that rat because he can come and bite you. Luckily in this route, it's not much of a problem. And I held to the right there because sometimes that lets me not aggro those rats at all. Luckily I dodged the first one. So still got through. But this boss is actually one of them that can be kind of scary because he does a lot of damage. The first rats are not much of an issue because since we have scraps of life, that kind of destroys them. But the big rat can be kind of hard to hit because you have to hit him in his legs or in his face. Also, I did the undodgeable attack there, which I dodged. And it was a pretty clean fight. If you're very lucky, he'll just stand there and tank the scraps hits, and then you can finish him off with just one GRS. But still not too bad of a fight. That is undodgeable, I swear. Every runner will tell you the same. If you ask what the undodgeable charge is, everyone will know what it is. But yeah, to be fair, it's not actually undodgeable, you just have to dodge it super late. Basically after it's almost touching you. So yeah, the congregation coming up here is also kind of a joke fight. It can get not hairy, but it can get kind of messy because scraps are kind of inconsistent. And sometimes we'll have holos just walking through it, not giving a shit. And other times they will just destroy all of them. So we'll see here. Hopefully it kills all of them. He is still alive. And there we go. If I was very lucky, the mages would have died from one hit, but unfortunately he only took one hit from the scraps. And now we're heading over to Freya. Freya also can... This is sort of the theme for most boss fights in this route, is they're very clean when you get the good RNG and everything goes away. But since scraps is so inconsistent at times, that sometimes can get really hairy. For example, here in Freya, one of the spiders at the start can survive, and if he does, it does like half your health in one hit. And you sort of have to deal with him for the rest of the fight. Also, I'm just gonna trigger a life gem. It's not what I meant to do. I was gonna land on the little piece above there and use life gem afterwards because one of the spiders usually hit you. That works as well. So I'm using scraps here to deal with hopefully all the speeders. Now I'm not looking to my... Oh, there he is. That's the spider I talked about. Luckily I saw he came into the camera before he attacked this time, otherwise he would have shreked me. Ah, damn it. So I'll just have another laser here and go back. Unfortunately he didn't attack, which caused my GRS to miss, but in 2 more hits, Freya is dead. And I did not take any bonfires on the way, so luckily we don't have to run back here. So now we're pretty far into the run actually. The next few bosses are not much of an issue until we get to Dark Lurker. So the only bosses we have left now is Rotten, Ornstein, Flexile, Dark Lurker, Throne Duo, and Chandra, which on one hand sounds like a lot of bosses, but they're pretty close together. So we'll go through most of them pretty fast. Now Dark Lurker is a scary boss, mostly because the skip to get to him is also pretty scary. Also I got poisoned here, nice meme. Because you have to deal with Havel and Ricard. Hopefully that won't be a problem. So, Rotten gave me a good attack on the opening here, which means I can do a scrap. If he did a 3-hit opener, I would unfortunately have to just step away there instead of scraps. This unfortunately won't kill him. Let's YOLO it regardless. But yeah, the scraps does a lot of damage on Rotten. It's a very low chance of him getting away. The record is actually 1:11:18 now. 1:13:51 was the old record. It's probably not up to date on Speed Souls. It's actually not a great run. It's actually pretty bad by my standards, although I haven't beaten it. But yeah, my sum of best is actually below 106, so there's a lot of time you can save on the run still. It's just there's a lot of things that can happen in this run, which also makes it a pretty scary run to do for a marathon. It has actually been going decent so far. The first half was bad with Mirror Knight, obviously, but yeah, there's a lot of places you just die from one hit. And I don't believe the record is deathless. I believe it has 2 deaths or something. Can I get the world record in this run? Unfortunately not. The best time it says I can get now is like 1:15 something. Also, if you've speedrun Dark Souls 2 a lot, you'll probably know that basically nothing is entirely consistent in Dark Souls 2. There's always small details that can mess stuff up. So that's something to keep in mind with basically every boss setup you have, stuff like that. So I'll just strafe his poke there. He has hyper armor during that attack, so I have to wait a little bit to attack him, but a pretty clean fight. Why don't I have a splits on? We prefer to have just a clean game for the marathon. I do have them on the side here just so I don't forget any bosses, because most bosses you can do it in an arbitrary order in this run. It doesn't really matter much at all, so you can just do them or whatever order you feel have the most value for you. For example, I will do the harder bosses as early as possible, because that will give you more chances to do record attempts should I die to any of those bosses. So I'll put on the bow here, and I'll not jump onto the railing, because in old patch you can actually pretty consistently get into a state if you drop onto an elevator kind of late where you're sort of bouncing here, and if I jump then you get a moon jump. This is pretty pog. Excuse my coughing. So yeah, that's something we always go for there. It's not necessarily faster than me on the railing, but it looks cool. Oh, this camera. So from here, that hit. Kind of getting annoyed by these guys. So I shot the bell up there, which will have the ship with Flexile come towards me much sooner. So you see it's already lit up there, coming towards me. And even though I got bullied a little bit there, I should make it just quickly, just fine in time for the door to open up. And not lose any time to that. And there we go. And Flexile dies really easily to hexes. He dies in just 3 hits. Unfortunately, he doesn't attack after 2 hits, so we do have to dodge him. Oh, and that's what I was talking about earlier, not enough stamina. Because I did a roll a bit late. But he ended up having 6 health left, which I can do with a Chime Punch. And now for the probably most Monka-S part of the entire run, which is the Dark Lurker segment. Both because of the skip and because the fight can get really messy. So bless RNG in the chat would be appreciated, because there's a lot of RNG involved here. But we're just jumping into it. So the first RNG part here is that Ricardo can be quite annoying in the opening. I run past him here because that's basically the setup I like for dealing with him. Now Howl should follow me on the rights. And here we are. We are getting memed. So I'll just run around here. Hopefully I can get Ricardo to follow me back this way. And do 3 hits. Yeah, this is really messy now. Basically I have to keep Havel alive, so I have to break them up a bit. and hopefully not roll off the cliff. I'll just try this. And now I have to get Havel back into the corridor here because I'll be using him for our power walk. So yeah, pretty messy there, but we didn't die. Is he actually going the other way? Is he baiting me right now? Havel? What are you doing? He's not following me. Also, a fun little detail with Havel is you can't actually parry him while he's two-handing. So this is just wasting my time. But he's quite often a troll like that. Yeah, so the thing is, basically no matter what health you're at, how much vigor you have, Havel can just one-shot you with a backstep, so I have to be careful that he didn't walk around me and come behind me. I have done this with 50 vigor and I died from a single backstep. That's also part of what makes it scary at the start, because while you're dealing with Rickard normally, you will have Havel running up behind you. So if you're not fast enough, you can get Havel just sprinting up to you and backstabbing you. So on old patch we don't actually have to do all 3 dungeons. So what I'm doing instead is I'm running towards the boss arena for Dark Lurker, which is just beneath me here. But it's kind of difficult to get inside it. We have to scale a wall on the outside, which I'm doing right now. Hopefully I don't get stuck in the wall. And as I run around the perimeter here, we do have a load trigger just in the corner, which gets us inside the fight. And hopefully we'll get good the Dark Lurker RNG. This can be good depending on what she does next. Or he, don't actually know his gender. Let's just say it's. This attack is more annoying than it looks like, because if we angle too far upwards, the GRS will actually hit the ground behind us, which is pretty stupid, but that's the way it is. Unfortunately, I didn't get the perfect fight. In the perfect fight, you don't actually have to deal with dual Dark Lurker at all, but a pretty good fight. They didn't have much time to do anything. So coming up now is the very end of the run. We only have Throne Duo and Chandra left, and they usually are not much of an issue. So this will be the home stretch. But yeah, the absolute best Dark Lurker fight you can get is with the Fireball opening. But I think it requires him to do Fireball after the first attack as well. Because in that scenario, you don't... you have a lot of hits you can do in between attacks, and just as soon as you start splitting, you can just kill him instantly. I am from Norway, Rexrugum. Rexgum, actually. I am not gonna freeze Nash in this. We could technically do it. It's not really worth that much, because when we're fighting the Chandra from a distance, it's really not much of an issue to avoid her lasers. So it's just not worth the hassle, pretty much. And I do believe that I'm not actually entirely sure, I do believe the GRS can counter hits, and if you free snatch, you won't get any counter hits at all. So sometimes Defender is blocking there for no reason, which you can sort of break it if you hit him enough times in the shield, but it does very little damage. Yeah, basically Reckless Scum. So I did a couple scraps there, just barely hit her. That's what we do instead of the 2 urns for the Nash glitch. Basically, it's just much easier to get a few hits with. That's actually the laser I don't want, because it goes pretty far and is sideways, but she should be dead pretty shortly. So since we don't have that much health, a single laser from the Chandra will kill us. Also, she probably has like 2 HP left as normal. 4. But yeah, just as it dies on the Vixer Shield, we can do a little thing to save a slight bit of RTA in a load. It's basically as fast as RTA, but that is all the bosses, and the run is done now. So thank you guys for having me. A lot of fun doing 2 runs. Unfortunately, I got sick during the weekend, but luckily we still made this underestimate. This run can get really hairy, and I could easily have lost 7 more minutes of time with a few deaths. But yeah, thank you guys for having me. Thank you guys for the donations during the run, both runs and all the other runs from other players. Let's hit that 6,000 before the end of the stream. Would be awesome. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the marathon.
Hey, great job, Stennis.
Thank you.
Amazing. What a gut run. So, yeah. So, we're gonna have our next run soon. It's actually gonna be a race. It's gonna be a Dark Souls all bosses randomizer race with
Looking forward
double
to this
the
one.
game speed.
Yeah.
Between Mastery and Milcraft. It's gonna be very interesting. So you guys better stay tuned here.